Welcome back, coders, to another video. Today we've got something super special. I wanted to take you through a little tour of something I just picked up recently, Nintendo Labo VR. This is the VR headset, as you can see. I'm really excited about this one actually because it's lived up to and even in some cases exceeded my expectations. So this little device was kind of magical and interesting. I've tried a couple different headsets and VR headsets in my time, from not Oculus Rift, from the Vive to just like a standard, like almost Google Cardboard-esque one. So I've done everything a little bit under the sun, but this actually works surprisingly well. I know you've heard that everywhere, and it's not a lie. It truly is. It works in a very convincing way to showcase depth and all kinds of things. But before I get into too much information regarding how well this works, let's talk about the build process, because this is a Labo kit after all. It's made out of cardboard, which I guess is the most interesting part. So let me go ahead and put this down for just a second and just talk to you a little bit about the experience getting the kit. This is my first Labo kit ever putting together, and building it together with my daughter, at least partially. So my daughter's 4 years old, a little bit under what they recommend you be making this with, just because I think that it's a little bit more of a difficult kit in a lot of ways, especially the starter kit, and I'll get to that in a second. But when we first built this part, the headset, right off the bat, it takes about half an hour. And the great thing about that whole interface is that it really does everything it can to just walk you step by step through every little thing. It's got a cute little, I don't know, style to the writing and the delivery of each different step. Plus, it's got those wonderful touch controls right on the tablet there, on the Nintendo Switch itself, and that my daughter could play with. And that kept her busy while I was folding and putting together and plugging in slots and stuff like that. And she really enjoyed watching that process and even helping occasionally with some of the less delicate pieces. Obviously, we don't want her to get too much into it just because she's so young and she could potentially break it. But she did a really great job, and it holds up surprisingly well even under 4-year-old hands. So I got to give that a lot of credit. Now for the blaster, that was a very involved build, I gotta say, and I've got this right over here. I haven't even really brought that on the screen yet. Let me just show you this thing. It's huge. It's a lot bigger than you'd expect. It functions incredibly well. It's got this little cocking mechanism, which is really cool, and then it has that firing, and that's a really good sensation, especially in virtual reality. Now I will say this one feels more flimsy than the headset, but it's still pretty sturdy. It doesn't feel like it's gonna go and break. It's just this handle, and maybe a little bit of this has some wiggle to it, but the tracking in it is amazing. The sensitivity on how it picks everything up is quite ingenious, and honestly, like, when you're putting this together, you find out some cool things about how it actually works, like some infrared sensors down that hole that it's tracking from, using the infrared sensor on this Joy-Con when you put it in there. And then also just like this tracking, it's kind of ingenious how they all thought about this. Overall, that's kind of what's been consistently impressive, is that it just exudes that Nintendo like seal of approval, that touch, that extra fine detail. Anybody who's saying this is flimsy and gonna break in 2 seconds is just not really experienced with this. I don't know what they're talking about. Like, they obviously haven't built it and played around with it with any length of time, and maybe they were looking at it and said, Labo VR, it must be for kids. There's no way that it could hold up for an adult. People don't like to have fun. Whatever it is, I don't care. I'm having a great time, and I want to continue to play with it. I'm going to introduce anybody I can to it, because the VR experience on here is not bad at all. In fact, it's very good. I would say that the reason I've been so blown away with it is there's no fiddling. This is all it is. It's just those lenses. You see, when you go into those lenses, you're transported into a world, and boom, you're in virtual reality. Suddenly you see 3 dimensions. There's great head tracking, and the only limitations that you can see are some screen door effect, which is just that the individual pixels that you can see kind of broken up. It kind of looks like a small screen door that you're looking through. It's not a big deal. And then a little bit of motion blur because it's a 60 hertz screen. But honestly, unless you're really nitpicky, you're really not going to care, because the experiences that are there really give you an incredible sense of depth and place. And considering the fact that this isn't strapped to your face all the time, although I'll get to some of the solutions I have around that, because I do think that that may have been a weird choice by Nintendo. considering this can just be taken off, it's kind of a refreshing experience. The motion sickness just doesn't exist. Like, I get motion sickness from virtual reality and oftentimes from video experiences. Anytime that I feel disconnected from the movement that I'm seeing, even if I can't move my head and track in a VR experience, like a 3D experience, it can make me a little nauseous. So I don't want to get that from this, but I don't. I just don't. It just immediately, oh, you pop in and out. Whoa, look at the depth. This is incredible. And then you got this little tap tap and you're in a different area. It's great. I can't say enough amazing things about it. It is exactly what I'd hoped it would be, and a little bit more. And I cannot wait for the couple experiences that they're adding to Mario and Zelda. So that's kind of my initial thoughts here. Let's just go through a little bit of how this works out when you combine it with the blaster, though, because that's kind of interesting. So right here we got the headset, and right here we have the blaster. This little piece slides up, and I take the headset, and I slide it in and slide that over. Now it's locked in there. It's not going anywhere. It's nice and sturdy. It's not going anywhere, I promise. It's nice and safe. Now what you would do is you put each Joy-Con in one in here and one in here, and then you basically look down that barrel and you'd be able to aim. And that's using the tracking of the screen to track that, not any of the other Joy-Cons or anything like that, which I thought was kind of incredible. So the motion aiming is really, really responsive. On top of that, all of the experiences in Nintendo Labo VR are, while they're short and they're kind of bite-sized, are really engaging. There's a couple like highlights, and obviously I only have the starter kit, so I only have a handful of games. I don't get like the camera and stuff like that, although I was able to fake it a little bit by kind of knowing how they did it. But with the blaster specifically, those like on-rail shooting sections, they have such incredible depth. You really do feel like you're sitting in that city, minus a little bit of low resolutionness in that city just because there's so much going on. The absolute sense of presence is there. There's no motion sickness, there's nothing. You can see the character that you're sitting on, which is like a tank with treads and stuff like that underneath you. There's some vibrations that come from the gun. Obviously you get kickback when you fire it. It's just like all those things are just, they combine for a really, really cool experience. And I'll try to show some footage of that, obviously not in VR, but I might also put some VR screenshots so that if you're interested and you have like a little cardboard headset or something like that, you can get an idea of like what the depth looks like. I don't know if it would really capture it because there's something quite incredible about it. The other thing to note is the field of view is way better than I expected. I've used some, like I said, Google Cardboard type headsets, and that was always my biggest issue, is the field of view was so small that you really knew you were just like looking into a window into like a three-dimensional space rather than being in it. This like almost envelops. I would say like it kind of feels like if you had like that much of your field of view. So I don't know if you can kind of like imagine that, but if you hold your hands out about right here and all that tiny bit of periphery on the very edges, that's what's gone. The rest of it's all there, and it's really, really evenly sharp. It's not like weirdly sharp in one spot, weirdly sharp in another. There is one little thing to note. If you do have dirty lenses or a dirty screen, clean that shit because it will show up. Those lenses are very, very magnifying. So you will see the little hairs and shit like that. Just like give your Switch a scrub down because holy shit, mine was dirtier than I thought. And now it's not. So it looks much better now. So that's kind of the overall experience. And I just, like I said, I can't stress enough how impressed I am with it. Just it's better than you would imagine. It just is. You should absolutely pick it up. It's only $40 to pick up the starter kit. That's probably all you need, especially if you're really only getting it for those like more extended experiences from Mario and Zelda that are coming out. And I would imagine that they're going to continue to support it considering it's sold out everywhere. But let's go ahead and get to the next thing that I did specifically to kind of alleviate one of my concerns that I had, which was the fact that there was no head strap. Now, obviously, most of the time, that's not a problem. Like most of the experiences, you just hold up your face. It's just one-handed. Maybe you have a Joy-Con in the other hand and you just do one and one. No big deal. Not a big deal. The thing is that there are a handful that have you doing this, which I don't like this thing. And it's like, this is great, but like moving your head like this, it's just weird and uncomfortable. And the thing is that that's how they're showing Zelda is going to be doing it, and I don't I don't like that. So what I've gone ahead and done, and this is just the early stages of it, I have an old headset that I'm also going to probably put some padding from it on, but I haven't yet, just because it was giving me a little bit too small of a field of view because it's pushing my head back from the actual lenses. And I've gone ahead and gotten this super cheap Google Cardboard head strap. It's just a Velcro head strap. So I went and put these 3 Velcro spots, one up top, one down on the bottom left, one down on the bottom right, and then you can just Velcro that right on to those Velcro spots. And I'll go ahead and do it right now just to demonstrate. Okay. Slide that over your head, and there you go. It's not a crazy tight experience, but like I said, you can make adjustments to what I have, and I'm sure that's giving me a nasally experience because it kind of sits on my nose. But with a little bit of extra padding and things like that, I think that this will be perfectly fine, because now I can, where's the Joy-Cons? So God, if I could find the 2 of them. Here we go. Now I can go free-handed and stuff like that. Now the cool thing about this is that you can actually build, oh God, I'm just hitting the microphone. The cool thing about that is that you can actually build some VR experiences in this using the Nintendo Labo VR Garage. And in those experiences, you can use both hand tracking with these. So while it's not going to be 6 degrees of freedom, thank you, it's 3 degrees of freedom, it still is pretty convincing. And when you have that accompanied with the head tracking, it really does give you the sensation that you're there. Again, no motion sickness, not a little bit. Now I've heard minor things of the bird and stuff like that, but I haven't tried that, so it doesn't matter. And like I said, with the accompaniment of this Velcro head strap and stuff like that, that's really helping alleviate any concerns that I would have had with that. Overall, I can't sing its praises enough. Like, it is so much better than you'll expect. Go in hoping for a nice experience, and you will find more. And there's so much to do and so much to see and so much to play with and invent. If you're a creative guy, a creative girl, anything like that, that you're really into building and making your own, this is a great platform for that. It actually is very user-friendly once you get the initial hang of it. They've got a lot of tutorial videos, everything like that. I highly recommend it. For $40, you can't go wrong. And if you have a kid, it's a wonderful experience with your kid. I can see myself getting additional Labo units just because my daughter will want to build things with me. Now, right now, I'm probably going to hold off for a couple more years. I do recommend like sticking to that age range, but I wanted to give it the shot and see if it was something that was really usable there, and it seems to be okay. But that's all I've got for you on Nintendo Labo VR. I really hoped you enjoyed this video, and if you want to hear anything else or have any specific questions about how it works, what's bad, what's good, anything like that, please make sure to leave a comment below. Don't forget to like the video if you're happy with what we showed today, and also subscribe to the channel, hit that bell so you get notifications on any other videos that we release. But that's where we leave you. And as always, stay classy, coders.